Parenting is an adventure, and like any other adventure, you've got to work hard and be prepared.
The quest is on.
We're in search for all things parenting. We hear from the kids, from the professionals, and from you, real parents on real issues. It's all happening right here, right now, on Care.
Care, the adventures of parenting.
There are days when I pray for the wisdom to get through lupus day by day.
I live in indescribable pain every day.
Lupus is a daily struggle just to get out of bed.
I'm in the prime of my life, and lupus has robbed me of part of my future.
I am 18. Lupus has forced me to quit school. Now I am permanently disabled.
My body cannot distinguish good from bad, so all my cells are in battle.
There is no cure for lupus, and in Trinidad and Tobago, awareness is lacking.
Lupus can feel like a death sentence. I wish I didn't have to suffer all the time.
The treatment for lupus can be worse than the disease.
Men can also get lupus, but it is not contagious.
I refuse to sit back and allow lupus to take a hold of me.
Right. Wow, some good information to start us off. May is Lupus Awareness Month. May 10th was Lupus Awareness Day, World Lupus Awareness Day. And joining us is Rihanna Harilal. Rihanna has been doing amazing work, so much so that she has been recognized by the International Society. In 2016, she received an international award for advocacy for others at the We Go Health Foundation. In 2015, she was a recipient of the National Youth Ally Award for the work she does for advocacy. Rihanna is the founder and president, and she is the voice of lupus. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rihanna, you wrote for us as well.
Yes.
And you shared your story. I'm always so grateful and so thankful for. It's not hard. It's not. I don't think that it's easy to put yourself out there and to tell all the personal struggles, and you have done that.
Yes.
And obviously, over the past few years, you have been inspiring people through your own struggles, and that really is amazing. So I'm going to start by saying thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get right into
Yes.
it. In the video, what stood out to me was it's not contagious.
Okay.
Is that something that we get all the time? You find that people think that it is?
First of all, a lot of people don't even understand what lupus is. So we have a lot of misinformation out there, or perception that lupus is contagious. It's a type of cancer. It's even linked to HIV and AIDS, or many people even say sometimes that, oh, lupus, is that the disease in the Bible? Meaning leprosy. But I have learned to really laugh at this because the ignorance is so real, and this is what our organization is so passionate about, in educating. We are creating change in Trinidad and Tobago through advocacy, awareness, and action, and we pride ourselves by trying to educate society about what lupus is. So no, it's not contagious. No, it's not HIV or AIDS, not linked to anything like that. Nor is it a type of cancer. It's simply an autoimmune disease. And remember, our immune system is meant to protect the body. And when you have lupus, your immune system essentially turns against itself and starts creating antibodies. Instead of protecting, these antibodies starts to destroy normal healthy tissues, organs, and cells. So
your body's basically like at war with itself?
It's raging war against its own self.
Okay.
And analogy I use when I am trying to teach children is that think of your immune system as the army force, or the police officers, the good ones. And what happens is that these police officers or the army, they go rogue and they turn against itself.
Jeez, it's really like civil war.
Right.
Okay.
And it manifests itself in different ways, and there are 4 types of lupus.
Okay.
And the worst one, of course, is systemic, when all the organs become compromised. There's also one called discoid lupus. I think that's why a lot of people associate lupus with like it's a skin disease. but there's different manifestations of lupus, and one of them is called discoid lupus, which affects just really the skin. And there is something called neonatal lupus, which affects babies. And there is something called drug-induced lupus. There are over 100 medications on the market being used to treat cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, as well as diabetes, that the side effects of these medications lead to lupus-like symptoms.
Really?
Yeah, but the good news is that if you come off these meds, your chances of clearing up those symptoms can, happen.
Okay, so it doesn't actually cause the incurable lupus.
That's right.
Because on the video, we also heard that lupus is not, there's no cure for it.
No, there is no cure.
Okay.
That's right, yes.
So you can get lupus-like symptoms, not...
Yes.
Okay,
And
because I
some of
went
the
like
symptoms-
real crazy there, like, oh my goodness, is something
and
actually causing.
and it's a very difficult disease to explain because no two lupus patients are alike. Now, I'm a lupus warrior. I say warrior because every day I get up and I fight to live.
Right.
I'm essentially fighting to live, despite limitations. However, lupus does not define who Rihanna is.
Yes.
I look at lupus as being a blessing and a curse. More so of a blessing because when I was diagnosed with lupus, it was the worst news, I think. When lupus first came in my life, I was maybe about 15 years old, and I had big dreams as a young child and as an adolescent, and I wanted to get into the media and what have you. And when lupus first came into my life and I had gone and done the research, I was so scared because the life expectancy back then, oh God, I made that sound like if I'm so old, but a couple, over 20 years ago.
Listen, I would think that you want to get old. We're gonna go on a break,
yes.
and then you're gonna come back, and Rihanna's going to continue to inspire us with her own personal life story. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're watching K. Hi, welcome back to Care. Today we are discussing lupus and we're helping to raise awareness. May is Lupus Awareness Month. May 10th was World Lupus Awareness Day, and we are joined by the president and founder of the Voice of Lupus. Some of us tend to feel as though, why me? I just want to, be all normal and healthy and everything. But then there are a few that God chooses to use as his army. And I'm getting goosebumps because when we went on break, Rihanna had said it was the best and the worst. And she has turned what could be a death sentence into a life sentence for so many. Mm-hmm. Rihanna, you were telling us about that time, when you got that diagnosis.
Yeah, at the stage of diagnosis, it was not easy to accept because of the fact of what lupus is and reading all this information. Back then it wasn't the internet, it was the encyclopedia. I remember laughing over that because I feel so old. But it wasn't a matter
How
of
old
just
are you?
I am 35, thank God.
Okay, so it's been 20 years.
Yeah, 20 plus years.
Okay.
And I remember just reading that the life expectancy for someone who has been diagnosed with lupus was less than 10 years. So at
you're
the time,
already doing really well.
That's right. And
awesome.
I would say that lupus has been a curse, yes, but it has more so been a blessing because I never fathomed in my mind that at the age of 20, when I got a confirmed diagnosis, that if you were to tell me, well, one day you're going to start this organization that's going to help hundreds of people, I would say,
probably,
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right,
And you're being modest with that hundreds, by the way.
And it's been a very life-changing experience. When I sit down and I reflect on my journey where it all started, from being depressed, suicidal, just really in a rut, in a mess, I really thank God for taking my mess and making it a message And
Ooh, I like that. We have to write that down.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to get all scriptural on
That's
you.
okay.
But Romans
That's okay.
8:28 is one of my favorite scriptures that says, "For we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord." And I have seen how God has used, this adversity and has raised it and turned it around into an opportunity that is bigger than Rihanna. This organization, yes, I started it. Yes, I am heading the organization.
How long?
It's been 8 years.
8 years.
Yes,
okay.
it's been 8 years. And I always tell people that even though I started it, the organization is bigger than me. Because, we have been privileged, I say the word privileged, to interact and help over 800 plus patients in Trinidad and in Tobago. We do work in Trinidad, we do work in Tobago.
When you say help, so give us a little bit of specifics in terms of what the organization does,
Right.
besides just handing out flyers.
Right. So apart from the advocacy work, we have created a lot of memorable partnerships with corporate society as well as the private sector. So we are the go-to people if you want to have a presentation done or you want to do a health fair or what have you. On the side of that, we also work on the humanitarian aspects. For instance, we provide on a monthly basis food hampers, a clothing drive. Sometimes we are able, based on donations, because we're a charity. So we rely on the generosity of members of the public to donate to the organization, as well as some of the companies that we have created some partnerships with. They tend to fund some of the projects that we do. And what we're able to do is provide testing if they need. For instance, we are careful though who we help.
Okay.
There's a criteria. We target low-income patients or those on social grants, like for instance, public assistance or disability. Once you're unemployed and you're on those social grants, we try to help you. It's not guaranteed because we are not funded, let's say, by the government. We do not receive a subvention as yet or anything like that. So we do not have big donors, but whatever we have, we try to make it work to meet your need. And we also provide wheelchairs and walking sticks dependent on your need and how we can facilitate
Well,
you.
as we're talking about funding, we have a segment, a feature that's called Finance and the Family. And we're going to go to Finance and the Family. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this testing and where we can get tested. Don't go anywhere. Finance and the Family is up next.
Have the conversation. More and more couples are holding out on having their finances conversation. Media and the term gold digger has not helped in this area. But the truth is, families can achieve far more if they work as a team in every area, which means in their finances as well. Determine who is stronger in this area. Be honest about your earnings. Have a safe, loving conversation and to make a joint plan for the way forward. Being on the same financial page as a family goes a long way in money management.
Welcome back to Care. We are discussing lupus today. May 10th was World Lupus Awareness Day, and we are joined by Rihanna Harilal. She is the founder and president of the Voice of Lupus. Before we went off on a break, we were talking a little bit. You started to talk about testing, and you help with testing. One, is testing available in the public health system?
Yes, it is.
It is. Free of charge?
And when we say we help with testing, we do not offer testing. You have to go through either the hospital or private laboratories, but you must meet the criteria. So it's not a case like, for instance, you can go and check for dengue or let's say HIV and AIDS. You must meet the criteria to begin testing, and the screening process would entail you identifying the symptoms. Once you meet 4 or 5 out of the 11 of the symptoms, that warrants you being probed and you know, to get the testing done.
What are the 11 symptoms?
The symptoms of lupus can range from mild to severe. So let's deal with the mild ones. You may have fatigue, joint pain, you may have photosensitivity to the sun, or even these lights in the studio. You may have hair loss, you may have nausea, you may have depression. You might notice that you're losing weight. You might notice that you have ulcers breaking out in the mouth or in, you know, in the nose. You may have blurry vision. You may have headaches. You may have loss of appetite, swelling in the ankles. You may have stiffness in the joints. The worst ones would be when there's organ involvement. So for instance, you may be spewing protein in the urine, which means it's an indicator that there's stress on the kidney. You may have inflammation in the kidney. You may have the lining of the lungs might be inflamed as well as the heart. So these are the worst symptoms possible. You can, you know, so it's not as easy as just saying, okay, well, today I'm going to go to San Fernando Port of Spain General Hospital and be screened. You must meet the criteria first, and the criteria would be the symptoms.
Okay. Do you know how some people say, like, well, I had the cancer gene or something like that? Is there a way of, is there some sort of gene that may say, well, you may be more susceptible to lupus?
Yes and no. I'm not a medical doctor, but however, our research has shown that scientists have identified stress and environmental factors are the contributing factors for lupus, for someone developing lupus. But there is also the hereditary link, genetics. So how many of you know, the audience know, that rheumatoid arthritis is actually an autoimmune disease,
Right, yes.
as well as diabetes. So there are hundreds of autoimmune conditions, and if your family tree has a predisposition of having an autoimmune condition, let's say rheumatoid arthritis, that gives you the indicating factor that you may have that. But I'm not saying that just because mommy or daddy have rheumatoid arthritis, it means, oh my God, I'm going to have lupus. No, but it just makes it a little more challenging. You know, so you have to check yourself, make sure you are watching and learning. And how can you say you don't have lupus if you don't even know what it is? And that's why we are so heavy with advocating. Our mission is quite simple. The name of the organization, The Voice of Lupus, our mission is to give lupus a voice. And how can we do that? By creating a platform to be heard, you know.
What about, like, is it something, again, where it's early detection? Because, you know, you talk about how can you know if you have it, right?
Yes.
Is there benefit, I guess, with everything? It feels silly asking the question now.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of early detection.
Yes, of course, yes. Because with early detection, it would, for instance, if someone is exhibiting systemic lupus, the early detection would allow us or allow you to ensure that your major organs are not compromised. So the treatment for lupus are sometimes worse than the disease because it involves really harsh drugs like immune suppressant drugs, for instance, steroids, as well as chemo. Now, chemo is not only for cancer patients.
Okay.
Lupus patients also have to undergo some level of chemotherapy, whether it's oral or intravenously, you know. So there's no boundaries to lupus. It can affect any nationality, any ethnicity, any gender, any age. I think that if we continue with the awareness, getting people to know the signs and the symptoms, we can help reduce the impact, because you would now be able to go and be screened, and you'll be able to nip it in the bud, so to speak.
Yes.
And get the right treatment that's available in the nation's hospitals, you know.
Is screening something where you kind of have to have a 2-year waiting list, or is it fairly simple to get screened once you're displaying the criteria?
Would you believe that it takes at least 6 years for the average person who's exhibiting the symptoms of lupus to get a confirmed diagnosis? It takes 6 years. Why? Because lupus is known as the great imitator. It means that it mimics so many other conditions out there in the medical field that the process of elimination always has to take place. And double checking, because a lupus patient, I remember a case a couple of years ago, a lupus patient was diagnosed First, her anti-nuclear factor came back. It was like a false positive. Then when she had to repeat the test, it came back negative. And then they had to do a third testing, and it showed positive. So it means that she got the confirmed diagnosis.
Right.
So sometimes you don't always get the anti-nuclear factor or the double-strand DNA suggesting that, yes, there's a confirmed diagnosis, but that person might be listing all the symptoms of lupus, but their blood work is not showing a confirmed diagnosis. Do you know a lot of patients, we live in the Caribbean, we have beautiful weather. The sun is our worst enemy, you know,
Okay.
and a lot of people with lupus have problems going outside, you know, being exposed to the environment and stuff like that.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to put a pin on it there because you're going into now, you know, some of the challenges that you face. I do have to go to another feature. It's called Care Tech Tip. This is where we help parents and families to use technology a bit more efficiently and responsibly.
Nice.
Don't go anywhere. You're watching Care, and Care Tech Tip is next. Be an expert consumer. If it's one thing I find terrifying, it's hearing parents say things like, my 10-year-old knows more about these gadgets than I do. Devices are getting smarter. Many toys have built-in connectivity to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or RF. The FBI suggests parents visit the website for every smart toy or device that your child has. Understand that devices with cameras or microphones featuring any wireless connectivity can be hacked. Conduct internet searches on each device to ensure there aren't any widely known security issues.
Masturbating at the age of 7 years old, and it began because I was exposed to sex at a very young age, and people think that sex is just sexual intercourse, but there are many different sex acts that a person could be exposed to. I honestly can't remember the age, but it was probably around the age of 5 that I was introduced to a sex act with another female. She was very close to my age, and it was at a place where I used to go when I was younger. So it was a trusted place, and it was a trusted person. And same sex, very close in age, and it was not a traumatic act where I was hurt or I was forced. I was more or less coerced, and that awakened certain appetites in me that at that very young age I could not turn off. I did not know how to turn off. She would stimulate me with her hands and also with her body. I can't even remember how we described it at the time, but it wasn't even a lot of words, you know. It would be like if we're playing, so it will sometimes start off with tickling, and then next thing she's on top of me and this is happening. I thought it was play, and then, as bad as it may sound, it felt good. So it was really confusing for me. At the age of 5, no parent is thinking that I need to speak to my daughter about sex and all these different things. So sometimes when it is, you're unaware, you don't have those type of conversations. So I didn't even think or know it was really wrong, you know. So it was a really confusing time. And well, this impacted me growing up and blossoming into a teen because, as I said before, it awoken certain appetites, and I did not know how to shut it off. So I would have had a need for that feeling, and I would have needed, you know, to be satisfied. And as I said, it was something that I could not control, and it led me to be highly promiscuous in my early teen years, going on to later teens. In terms of numbers and in terms of things I did, it didn't have a limit. It really didn't have a limit. I wasn't bound to relationships. It was just about sex and my pleasure. And to me, that speaks about dysfunction, because sex wasn't about love for me. Sex wasn't about bringing pleasure to the next person. It was all about me when I wanted it, and I did whatever I needed to get it. I became a sex addict. But by the age of 22, I had 22 partners, and then that probably tripled by the time, because I was still in my mom's house, right? That was in my mom's house. When I moved out on my own, which was like at the age of 23, it probably tripled. And speaking about different dudes, different days, sometimes more than one dude in a day, you know, and it was beyond control. And this was all because a certain appetite was awakened in the wrong way. And it wasn't a way that, you know, you would go and typically report, because, as I said, it wasn't traumatic, it wasn't forced, it was with a trusted person, and I didn't know how to treat with that. So it's not something to me that the law could have, you know, helped with, because it's so common.
Welcome back to Care. I have leaned back. Oh my gosh, I'm having such a great time. Every time we go to break, Rihanna is just amazing. She's an inspiration. I feel as though, you know, we have all the challenges, and you're going to talk a little bit about challenges, and then I think I'm going to feel really bad to complain, and I'm going to slap myself on the wrist anytime I complain ever again. Yeah. Tell me, challenges.
I think a lot of people look at me, for instance, let's use myself. Most people would not believe that I am sick. Most lupus patients, they don't look ill. How do you identify a disease? You know, I mean, I think our culture, we think that if you are looking like you're ready to kick the bucket, or you are, like for instance, let's look at invisible disabilities. Lupus is an invisible disability. So even though you may not physically see that I'm disabled, I'm not on a wheelchair, or I'm not on crutches or anything like that, there are some limitations that lupus patients live with. And one of them, fatigue, even the simple task of getting out of bed and being able to go to the bathroom and brush your teeth, or take a really nice shower, or to comb your hair, even to, you know, be able to do something like this. Hold the mug and lift it, because sometimes we experience so much pain in our bodies. Our fingers are stiff, sometimes it's deformed. A lot of patients, their hands become deformed. They're unable to hold stuff. You know, so these are the little blessings that some people take for granted. And I think a lot of patients would attest that people just do not believe when they say they don't feel well, because sometimes they don't physically look ill.
Yes.
I think that's a challenge in itself.
I can relate to that. I was diagnosed with a hyperactive thyroid 2 years ago now. Time's flying. And there are days, you know, like I love to hike, I love being outdoors, I love playing sports.
That's right.
And there are days where I'm hiking and it's like, you know, and because people are accustomed to fit Marsha, they go, what's wrong with you? How you let yourself get like that? You know, weight is something that I have to now really try. Because once I literally lost, it was 20 pounds in a week and looked like a scarecrow. Wow. Then I put on weight very easily, and it's just like, and because you don't look sick.
Yes.
You look all happy-go-lucky.
Yes.
There's a hormone imbalance. Yes. So sometimes it feels like I'm going through menopause, and I literally sweat.
Hot flashes,
yes,
sweating.
non-stop.
Yes.
So there's a certain level of absolute frustration, and you're biting at people, and they just think like, what is up with you?
Yes.
She's so moody. And they're not getting that there's a real condition going on here that you are struggling with.
Yes.
You know, I take naps throughout the day a lot of times because you just have to.
Yes.
And you know, a lot of people don't get it.
How do you tell someone that you're tired when you look like the epitome of health? I mean,
yes,
having looked at you,
totally get it.
Yeah, you don't look ill. You don't look like there's something wrong medically wrong with you. And it's the same challenge I think a lot of patients go through. I mean, we hear it because we provide counseling as well. And, you know, a lot of people would say that family members, they don't get it. They are being accused of being lazy, or they need to get up and exercise. Take, for instance, myself.
Totally
just last year, this is my 1 year anniversary of celebrating life. I spent 9 weeks in ICU in New York City fighting for my life. I was unconscious.
Wow.
You know, I was in a comatose stage for 9 weeks. When I was out of ICU, I had to learn to do things all over again. For instance, walking, being able to brush my teeth, be able to put on my trousers. Those were some really, really depressing experiences last year, because I came a long way, and to get ill like that, to be flat in bed and to not be able to move, not be able to even, you know, a normal thing as go to the bathroom. I mean, it was really hard, and it was a mental fight. And
yes.
I have struggled with weight because of lupus with the steroids. So 1 minute Rihanna is all slim, I'm doing my Zumba, kickboxing, exercising, and then I go through a massive flare. I have to be on these really harsh steroids, the prednisolone, the methotrexate, and the immune suppressant drugs, and it wreaks havoc on my body. I start gaining a lot of weight. When I left the hospital, I checked in the hospital last year. When I left the hospital, I was almost 52 pounds heavier than when I went in.
Wow.
And that was because of the heavy steroids that they were giving me. It was through the veins, it was intravenous and intramuscular, and I gained a lot of weight. And now, I mean, I'm struggling with it. A lot of people who do not know me might think, oh God, that girl must be a real licorice boy. She must just sit down and eat. And, you know, and you have to deal with that.
I'm now going to say you're fighting more than just lupus. You're fighting stigmas, you're fighting insensitivity.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real mental battle
is,
going on with your identity, your confidence.
That's right.
Geez, you're becoming more of a hero, like, by the word.
It's really tough. I can't say that I wish I didn't have lupus. I really wish I did not have to have lupus, but would I change it? No, because lupus has taught me so many invaluable lessons. I think because I got diagnosed with lupus and all that I've been through, it taught me about personal integrity. It taught me about compassion, being, having empathy for people. And I believe that if I did not have lupus, maybe I would have not been the person that I am today.
Totally get you.
You know, I think I wouldn't change it, but it's very difficult to try to always have to explain yourself to people. Like many people say, but you get fat. what are you doing? Why are you not doing something? And
now, I know you're Christiana, and I know my viewers think I'm Christian too, but I think sometimes this is really where you have to flip people the bird.
It's very difficult.
And just go like, you know what? I'm done explaining.
Oh, no, I don't explain. I say, good life.
Oh,
it's
good.
Good life, good living, good life.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to explain anything, because I think if I had to tell someone what I've been through, and if you can handle what I've been through, if you've walked in my shoe, maybe you'll just zip it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think I need to explain who I am, and I justify why I'm 52 pounds
They don't
heavier.
deserve knowing.
I don't need to go through that. This is who I am. Lupus has not, it has sought to rob me of my future, but I have turned that into something positive where I can now help other patients and be able to show them that you can, in spite of lupus, you can thrive. You can thrive, and it's a mind thing. It's really, the battle is in the mind, and I have to say, if it wasn't for my faith in God, if it was not in my, you know, being a minister, being someone involved heavily in spreading the word of God and spreading God's love, Christ's love, you know, I think I would have probably gone bonkers, because in 2009 I had a nervous breakdown, you know, and it was really hard. I mean, it was really hitting rock bottom. Yeah. But the nice thing about hitting rock bottom is that the only way to go is to the top. And that's what God has done in my life through the Voice of Lupus Foundation.
Awesome stuff. Guys, we have to go on a break, and when we come back, it will be just in time to wrap up. Don't go anywhere. You're watching K.
My name is Marsha. I'm the creator and owner of ChowFit. I'm a certified fitness instructor. I'm certified with the American Muscle and Fitness Personal Training Institute. And more recently, in 2015, I actually did the Defense Force, the PTI course, which is Physical Training Instructor course. Additionally, I also have a diploma in nutrition from Shaw Academy. And I'm a studying massage therapist, having completed 2 massage therapy courses with UB Open Campus. I just have 1 more to do. Honestly, one of the biggest challenges I can honestly say that I face as a small business owner and entrepreneur is that when you're not big in the dance, as they say, when you don't have that level of popularity, your customer base comes and goes. I think the important thing is get educated in your field. And I'm not necessarily talking about academic qualifications, although you don't ever knock that. But find ways to get educated in your field. And once you know your stuff, then you have to face it with confidence. Back in 2008, I got employed with a big corporation, you know, and anytime people hear that name, they say, oh, cool, he's making plenty of money and all that kind of stuff. And the reality is, I wasn't making plenty of money, but I had a decent salary and everything. And I started doing something that I enjoyed, and through it all, things started to get, I guess, a little bit too much. Things started to change in the organization, and it's not that I'm against change, but I felt like me and there were a few other people in the company who felt the brunt of it, you know. What ended up happening is I'd spend a lot of time doing that work. I'd come home tired, I'd come home frustrated, and then it was my wife and I alone, Omega. Eventually, she got pregnant, we had a son, and I started to realize, you know what, I can't be coming home this frustrated all the time. Luckily, by then, I'd already started training people. And I think that what this actually did for me was allow me to do something that I loved, allow me to give me flexible time, give me flexible hours, and I'm doing something that I love, something I truly enjoy. So there's less stress for me to bring home from work. So I think overall it has actually improved my family life. I'm not going to say everything is perfect, because at the end of the day we're human, and you know what, nothing's perfect when you put humans in the picture, but it has definitely improved my family life. What I will say though is, before doing this, if you really find something that you want to do, take the leap of faith. But I must say, have a buffer. Have somebody who could help you out when times are going bad, or have a savings account so you don't have to rely on anybody, but have something there, because they always say it takes 3 to 5 years for a business to develop, and I can tell you it's true. Some people, they're lucky, off the bat they get that business going, but for some people it takes, as I said, 3 to 5 years, sometimes even more. And while it's not going the way you want, you either need to be working a regular job and doing this at the same time, or you need to have some kind of buffer so that you can get rid of the 9 to 5 and focus all your energy on your business. What's interesting is that my wife actually also took a leap of faith. Omega, she runs, she has her own blog, Omega Writes. It's a WordPress blog. And she's also a freelance writer, copy editor, virtual assistant, all that good stuff. Which means that she works from home also. Although I don't exactly work from home, I do certain things at home because I'm a blogger. I have my own blog. I sometimes, when clients can't make it, I have to develop a training program or training routine for them. So I'm at home. When I'm not training clients, I'm at home. So we tend to be in each other's space a lot. But I think what helps is, well, 2 things. One, the fact that a big part of my business actually is outside of the house. And also the fact that we have our son to focus on. So it's not as if we're just in each other's face all the time. We're not interrupting each other's work. If she has something in particular to do and our son is home, I will take my time and take care of him. If I have to go out, if I have a blog post to write or something, she will watch him. And we are able to interact like that. We're able to take turns at being the parent, that kind of stuff where necessary, you know. What I think is also interesting is the fact that there's this very, very negative stereotype when it comes to fathers. You know, I spend some free time on Facebook, as most people do, if they have free time. And I see a lot of comments, why men so, why fathers so, and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, I don't see it that way. The birth of my son was probably the most incredible thing to happen in my life. You know, so being an entrepreneur, running my own business with flexible hours like this, allows me that opportunity as a father to take part in the raising of my son. You know, I don't believe that fathers should be out of the house. I think that fathers should be very much involved as much as possible, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do. So anytime people tell me, oh, you know, you're taking care of him and thinking, and you're such a good father, I think to myself, no, I'm just a father, because this is kind of what a father is supposed to do. All right, and you can also check me out on Instagram at Chaufit, that's CHAUFIT, if you want to see what I do. I also blog at chaufit.wordpress.com. Of course, Facebook is Chaufit, Twitter is Chaufit Official. And my wife is also a blogger at omegawrites.wordpress.com. She's a freelance copywriter. Freelance copywriter.
Writer for Care as well.
Yeah, she writes for Care magazine. She's a...
Write the Care Stars and Rise up, the column, yeah?
Yeah, she is a copy editor, virtual assistant, all that good stuff. Check out at Omega Writes at .wordpress.com.
Follow me on Instagram, Omega Denise.
That's Omega Denise, Denyse.
Like Denise Plummer. Okay, yeah. And Twitter, same thing, you know.
Yeah.
Rihanna, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, it's time to wrap up. Please give our audience information. How can they reach out to you? Guys, let's donate as well. Don't just reach out to her for information, okay? Reach out to find out how can we support her. Tell us, how do we get in contact with the Voice of Lupus?
Right, so you can, social media, Facebook, Instagram, but you can also call us directly. The office line is 221-9677 and our cell number 327-0220. And if, of course, if you would like to make a financial contribution towards the, you know, the counseling aspect, the services that we provide, because we have to pay counselors.
Yes.
You know, we have to pay these
Things
experts.
need to be paid
That's
for.
right. And if you would like to contribute in that way, you can do so at any RBC branch in the Voice of Lupus Foundation's account. And that number is 11 followed by 6 zeros, 1427337. I think that's
awesome.
it.
Great. Thank you
Yes.
again, Rihanna.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you to your staff, and thank you for this opportunity to get the voice out there.
It's
and
our pleasure.
The word. So keep up the good
Our
work.
pleasure.
Yes, thank
And of
you.
course, anytime you want to write again for the magazine, you're welcome to.
Thank
There's
you.
a space available for lupus all the time.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for taking your Sunday out to join us to raise awareness for great causes and, of course, to become a better family. We can change Trinidad and Tobago one family at a time. See you next week Sunday for another episode of Care. Bye.